My name? It's not important. But it is pretty cool. First name Moonlight. Last name Nightingale. That's Nightingale with a K, mind you. Yeah, I chose it myself. What's more proper a name than the one you pick out for yourself? Ha. But like I said, it's not important. What is important is the tale I am about to put to paper. Not the first of my adventures and not the last, but certainly the most daring one yet. And for that, I have been inspired. A man with my talents shall not let his acts fade from history. No, I say, these stories are far too prime an example of the pinnacle man can reach in intellect, in conviction. The mysteries I have unraveled are so far removed from the knowledge of modern man and yet so rich in the legends of ancient esoteric knowledge that one might question whether the man of the day has any significance at all. Or perhaps this insignificance is truly the most significant thing we have in the face of the greater truth of this universe. And so, let me tell you the story of one of these mysteries I have solved, one steeped in death, darkness, and all the spirits that creep at your peripherals. The victim had been a young man that now laid in a hospital bed beside me. There was a continuous and tenuous series of beeps as their family explained the situation to me.
He was just blathering a bunch of nonsense, and then this. He just fell straight to the floor. We had no idea what to do. We rushed him to the hospital, but nothing has changed since. The doctors say everything looks fine, but he just won't wake up. He has been like this for the last week.
The young man had apparently been making a ruckus in his room not long before his parents had barged in to see what had been going on. Allegedly, it was as if he had been speaking another language entirely, and then he was unconscious. The family was confused. The doctors too. None of it made sense, but that was the norm for me. I remained there long after the family left, promising them that I would have some kind of answer for them in 24 hours or less. Was I overconfident? No. I took out a gun and shot the man in the bed right in the head. But it was okay, because I wasn't just a detective, but a necromancer as well. Moonlight Knightingale, the Necromancer Detective. And in a brief period of time, the previously comatose man was now sitting back up in his bed. Dead, but undead. Welcome back to the world of the living, I said to him, gun still in hand.
What's going on?
They were often like this when they first came back. Memory still foggy, sometimes not even sure of their own names.
Was that a gunshot?
A hospital staff member said. Don't worry, I assured them.
Oh my God, he has a gun!
Another hospital staff member shouted out. Don't worry, I assured them too. Look, he's back. I pointed with my gun to the newly raised undead.
Someone call the cops!
Did I die? The young man asked, still looking at his shaking hands, blood dripping onto them. I'm afraid so. No need to dwell on that, though. I'm a necromancer, so I brought you back. Thanks to me, you're still here in the world of the living.
Thank you.
But I'm also a detective, so I've got a few questions for you I need you to answer. Police sirens had made their way into the background at that point. Perhaps let's get to those questions somewhere else, though. Through a few alleyways and back streets, we headed back to my place of residence. On the way, the young man started to regain his memories. I remember now. Before all of this. Yes.
You said my parents said I'd been acting crazy, speaking random words or something.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. For me, it was the opposite.
And those had been all the words I needed to hear to solve the case. Since ancient times, it had not been an uncommon practice to complete certain rituals or spells through proxy. When conditions were too drastic or inconvenient for the totality of what the caster hoped to achieve, there would often be individuals who were, either by coercion or force, made to complete these conditions. I had done my research prior to meeting with the young man's family. He was one of several children, and I'm sure he had no idea of his family's lineage. He had simply been a pawn, and I too had been targeted to be made into a pawn to clear that family's name. Of course, they would hire a detective. They would use me to lift any suspicions. I would be their claim that what had happened to their comatose son could not be explained. But unbeknownst to them, they had hired more than just a normal detective. They had hired Moonlight Knightingale. In under 24 hours, I was meeting those parents again. I knocked, alone, on that young man's family's door.
Nightingale? That was unexpectedly quick. Did you find something?
The husband had answered the door. I promised under 24 hours. And what I found out is that you and your spouse are scumbags. My anger had overtaken me. My hand was on his throat before I finished my sentence.
Stop this!
The other husband had shown up.
What's going on here?
And then the third. How many damn husbands did these people have? And then it hit me. I see. So that's the ritual you've been enacting. A love spell. That's how you have so many spouses. The first tried to speak through my clasp, now lifted off the ground. I dropped him.
Not quite, though. I'm surprised that you figured out most of it so quickly. The police are on the way,
one of the others exclaimed.
My partners, they were called forth with a body duplication ritual. Of course, they had to be made to look different, as to not draw suspicion, but we are all the same.
One of his so-called doubles finished his sentence off as he helped the one up whom I had dropped to the ground earlier.
This changes nothing, though. I knew you were a necromancer all along. I've had one of us stationed near your mansion, and soon that undead son of ours you brought back will be purified, turned back to being dead, and your bullet wound will be the only evidence to link any of us here to a crime. It'll all be pinned on you.
And then I shot him in the face. But I did not use my necromancer powers to bring him back. I only looked at the 10 other husbands of his that had now gathered near the entryway, and withdrew a plastic bag from my coat.
No way! Impossible!
They were stunned. Their plan to exorcise the undead son I had brought back to testify against them would be moot, as within the plastic bag was his very remains. I poured the ashes out, and with a wave of my hand they sailed through the air in unnatural motions and shapes, until they rebuilt the unfortunate victim of the men now staring back at me. It wasn't long before the paranormal police arrived and began taking them all into custody. Body duplication rituals, mind control spells, both types of magic that had long been outlawed. Their outcome that night only served to bolster my agreement with such rules.
What now?
The young man asked me as the heads of his previous household were slowly filed away. Well, it's not a fun outcome, but all your siblings will end up going into the foster care system. They might not see each other for a while, but it's better off than what was planned for them, though.
And me? What do I do?
Whatever you want. I'm not the kind of necromancer that steals away his undead's freedom.
Mr. Nightingale? What was the condition I was used to fill? What role had my fathers needed me to play in all this that they couldn't enact themselves?
I paused. I had expected the question to come, but I hadn't wanted it to. They made you give your soul away. It's the main requirement for the body duplication ritual. Not many can cast it, and even fewer want to do what is effectively giving up their own life. That's why they used you. That's what they had planned to use all your siblings for as well.
I see. That's awful. Am I still me? You know, after that and dying?
You are you, but you also aren't him. That son of theirs. His soul is long gone. Probably in the hands of some demon outside of our own realm of existence, but you have his brains, his memories. You don't have his soul, though. You have your very own. So take care of it. Necromancy isn't so easy as I might make it look. He looked dumbfounded. There was no response as he digested all of what I had just told him. As it often is with the undead who ascertain the true nature of what it means to be undead, his mind shifted towards finding some purpose in life to affirm himself. And now, he finishes off these final words of my first story as I dictate them to him aloud. The end.